Right. So now let us move on to section 194M. Okay, we'll be focusing on something called as section 194M. What is this and what are the things we need to cover? Let us try to see. Section 194M. This provision is basically again a new amendment. Okay, so this is very important. So this provision was with effect from, so this provision is applicable with effect from 1st September 2019. With effect from 2019 1st September, this provision is in place. Okay, this provision is a combination of section 194C, section 194H, and section 194J. So this provision is a combination of 194C, 194H, and 194J. So what is 194C? 194C, we had covered this as your contract. Whenever any payment is made to the contractor, 194C is applicable. Whenever any payment is made in terms of brokerage or commission, 194H is applicable. Whenever any payment is made to professional fees, professional charges, or technical fees, 194J is going to be applicable. So this 194M is a combination of all these three things. Then you may be wondering, already 194C is there, 194H is there, 194J is there. Then what is the need for a new section called as 194M? For that, if we go back, say if I go to 194J, okay, what is 194J? 194J is where we have discussed that. Okay, fine. 194C. Let us go to 194C. To whom this section is applicable? 194C. 194C is applicable to any SSC other than individual HUF. So now this 194M clearly says that what? This provision is applicable only to individual. This provision is applicable only to an HUF. That means this provision is not applicable to any other SSC other than individual HUF who are not covered under section 194C, who are not covered under section 194H, who are not covered under section 194J. So those people who are not covered under those section, 194M is applicable. Same as what we have seen here, 194IB. 194IB is applicable for individual HUF not covered under 194I. Like that, here this section 194M is applicable for all those people who are not covered under 194C, 194H, 194J. Who is not covered? If you are not covered under tax audit, then ultimately you are not covered under 194CH or 194J. But if you are covered under tax audit, for you 194M is not applicable, 194C, H or J is applicable. So I need to see only tax audit. So if you are let me repeat again, you are an individual or you are an HUF, then I need to see whether you are covered, for you whether tax audit is applicable. I need to see whether tax audit is applicable. The answer may be no, the answer may be yes. If the answer is yes, you will be coming as a part of 194C, you will be coming as a part of 194H, you will be coming as a part of 194J, you will be coming as a part of 194I. If not, no, that means you are an individual HUF, tax audit is not applicable, then what happens? Then for you are covered under something called as 194M, which you are going to discuss, and already we have discussed something called as IB. So for you, these four sections are not applicable. Either you will be coming under 194M or 194J. Sorry, 194IA. When 194IA, in the case of rent, 194IA, in the case of contractor, in the case of brokerage, in the case of professional or technical fees, it is going to be 194M. That's it. So that's what is the complete outline of your section 194M. It's a new section, new amendment, which is applicable with effect from 1st April 2019. Then what is the rate of TDS? When TDS is not required to be deducted, so what are the other provisions? Let us quickly try to understand. So the provision is very simple. Under this following case, if you are coming under this category, tax deducted at source rate is going to be 5%. So you need to deduct the tax at rate of 5%. Only 5% is the rate of tax which you are supposed to deduct. Now, when TDS is not required, let us try to understand. No TDS. You are not supposed to deduct any sort of TDS when. So aggregate amount paid, aggregate amount paid to a resident, aggregate amount paid to a resident. Who is that resident? Either the resident is a contractor, or you are paying some brokerage, or you are paying some sort of professional fees or technical fees. Aggregate amount paid to the resident during the financial year, does not exceed what? Rupees 50 lakhs. If the amount does not exceed rupees 50 lakhs, then there is no need to deduct any sort of TDS. That's it. Okay. So even this section is not applicable if you are a individual, if you are a HUF, and if you are coming under something called as tax audit. Ultimately, for you, section 194M is not applicable. For you, 194C or 194H or 194J is going to be applicable. And when it is not applicable, against the non-applicability, I can simply call this as a non-applicability. When it is not applicable, covered under section 44AB, 194M or 194I is not applicable. Either C, H, I, J are going to be applicable. Then you are not covered under section 44AB, and you are making payment to a contractor for a personal purpose. You are making payment for a personal purpose. Then also what will happen? 194M is not going to be applicable. Okay. So at the same time, so this personal purpose, here we are focusing about something called as 194C. You are an individual HUF, you are not covered under tax audit, and you are making the payment for the contractor for some personal purpose. Then ultimately 194N is not going to be applicable. Same thing, 194J is not applicable. Sorry, 194M is not applicable if you are covered under tax audit. If you are covered under tax audit, ultimately whatever professional fees you pay, that is forming part of your 194J. That's it. So that's what is something called as your 194M. That's it. Okay. Which is nothing but 194M. Okay. 194M. Which is also, sorry, 194N. Just now we have discussed 194M. We need to now discuss something called as 194N. 194N. What is this section? To whom this section is applicable? Okay. So this section is purely applicable payer, person responsible for deduction. So who should be the payer? As we have every section someone called as payer. For this section, who is the payer? The payer for the purpose of this section is nothing but a banking company. Bank. It may not be a company, it may be a company, or even it could be a society, cooperative society. It should be first of all a bank. Or the payer should be or can be also a post office. So here this provision is applicable only when the payer is the bank or payer is the post office. Now, what is happening here? So any bank or any post office, whenever this payer is making a payment. So what this payer is doing, the payer is making some sort of payment. And what is happening? The payment exceeds whatever payment which the bank is doing exceeds rupees 1 crore, whether it is a bank, whether it is a post office, whenever the payment is made exceeds 1 crore, then the payer has to deduct a tax of 2%. Okay, so here whenever the aggregate amount paid during the previous year so exceeds 1 crore during the previous year, then ultimately 2% is the rate of TDS. When TDS is not required, no TDS. Under the following cases, TDS is not required to be deducted. When payment made to government, the bank or the post office is making payment to government, or the bank or the post office is making payment, okay, payment made to another bank or a post office. So even in this case, TDS is not required to be deducted. Okay, bank is making any business of a banking company engaged in carrying of business of banking. So any sort of payment made in regulations framed by RBI. RBI has framed some sort of regulations. You are making payment in accordance with the regulation imposed by RBI. Even in that case, there is no need to deduct any sort of TDS. Whenever any payment is made through automated teller machine, if the payment is made to something called as automated teller machine, even in that case, no TDS is required to be deducted. Okay, so even where you are making payment by under an official gazette which is released by the central government, under any sort of official gazette which is released by the central government, in accordance with that, if any payment is made even though it exceeding 1 crore, then ultimately there is no need to deduct any sort of TDS. So that's what is 194N. Okay, that's what is something called as 194N. With this, I can say the concept of TDS is totally completed. So that's what is something related called as what tax deducted at source. That's it. So with this, we had completed the topic.